What if I told you that there is a 5-word phrase that could silence your OCD? I know it sounds too good to be true, but here's the thing. It's not just about shutting down those thoughts. It's about changing how you respond to them. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you today. Picture this. You're about to leave for work and all of a sudden you have a thought, what if I left the stove on? Your heart starts to race. You start feeling all funny. Your brain's like, you probably did, even though you know you checked it 5 times before you left. OCD thoughts are exhausting. They pop up out of nowhere and they demand your attention right now. They lead to time-consuming behaviors that only give you temporary relief. It's like being stuck on a hamster wheel and you just can't get off. Stick around because in the next few minutes, we're gonna learn how to take back control from OCD. I'm gonna teach you this phrase I love. It's only 5 words long, but here's the kicker. It involves agreeing with your OCD. I know it sounds really counterintuitive. Yeah, that's a big word. But sometimes the most effective strategies are. I'm not gonna make you wait. Here is the phrase. I guess it'll happen. There we go, 5 words. It's simple, but it packs a punch against OCD. Here's why. Because it accepts uncertainty instead of fighting it. When OCD throws a what if at you, this response basically says, okay, and I guess it'll happen. But well, what if you left the stove on? Well, I guess it'll happen. What if you hit someone with your car? Well, I guess it'll happen. But here's how it works in action. Imagine you're about to leave for a really important meeting and OCD says, hey, what if you say something inappropriate during your meeting? Instead of avoiding the meeting or keeping your mouth shut the entire time, you're like, well, then I guess it'll happen. This breaks the cycle of anxiety and compulsions because you're not really engaging with the threat. You're just like, okay, I'll deal with it when the time comes if it does, but I'm not gonna do anything to make sure it doesn't happen. You might be thinking like, that's too simple. How could this possibly work? Well, let's break it down. This approach is rooted in a therapy called exposure and response prevention. It's like facing your fears without giving into the compulsions. The science behind it is pretty cool. When you use a phrase like this, you're practicing something called thought diffusion. It's a fancy way of saying you're separating yourself from your thoughts, and they don't always require a compulsive response. Here's another way to look at it. When you say, then I guess it'll happen, you're basically telling OCD, you're not the boss of me. You don't get to choose what I do. You make the decisions you want to make, and your brain learns from that. You might be thinking, well, that's not gonna work for my theme. Like, mine says I'm gonna go to jail. If I went to jail, that would be horrible. Mine says I'm gonna do something harmful. Here's the thing, it doesn't just work for one type of OCD. You think about all of them. Whether you're dealing with contamination fears, harm OCD, moral OCD, this phrase can be your go-to response to pretty much just say, cool, what if? Awesome, well then it happens. It will happen, cool, simple. If it happens, then it happens. We can't problem solve something that hasn't happened. That's the key. It might feel weird at first to try to use this because we can't solve every what if. Actually, you can't solve any what if. But over time, you start getting used to it. And it's a quick phrase. It's like, okay, then I guess it'll happen. And the brain's like, well, what? Why aren't you doing something about it? Because I'm willing to risk it, because that's what life's all about. It's easy to say outside of an OCD type of moment, but how do you do it when it's so convincing and terrifying? Let me show you some real life examples here. Maybe you have contamination OCD. You're about to eat at a restaurant and the thought hits you. What if the chef didn't wash their hands? The usual response would be, well, let me go look around the kitchen, go ask, like, hey, how often do they wash their hands? Look at reviews, make sure, take a deep breath. But instead we're like, well, then I guess it'll happen. Guess he's not gonna wash his hands. Maybe, I don't know. It feels uncomfortable, but you're telling your brain, like, stop it. Stop trying to figure this stuff out. We're only going to react if we see a blatant problem. I went to a restaurant and I could see they had the door open. I could see all the workers in the back. And there was a worker. He was vaping in the back and he's just like, blowing it over here, being real sneaky. Okay, and then you're preparing food and you're vaping. I'm like, there you go. There's not a what if anymore. There's a, I see it. There's a problem. I could probably do something about this. Who knows? But let's say I go to that same restaurant a month from now. I can't guarantee, unless I see it, that that same thing is happening in the back. So I'm willing to risk it. I don't know, but maybe I don't even go to that restaurant because I learned the first time that that's happening. But I can't overgeneralize the whole thing. Ah, it gets tricky, man. Let's say you're struggling with harm OCD. You're holding a kitchen knife and a thought comes up. What if I hurt somebody? Instead of putting the knife away, you might say, well, then I guess it'll happen. Well, I can't say for that. What if I actually did? Well, then I guess it will happen and we'll figure it out when the time comes. It sounds risky and it sounds like, Oh no. But sometimes we just gotta do it, man. Live life. That's what we gotta do. You're simply acknowledging the thought without giving it power. Maybe moral OCD. The phrase works just as well. What if I accidentally offended somebody? My new response? Well, then I guess it will happen. It's not about being careless. It's about accepting that I can't control every outcome. What if I picked the wrong relationship and I'll be miserable forever? Then I guess it will happen. We'll get to that bridge when the time comes, if it does. Here's a tip. You might start small. Use this phrase with less intensive thoughts first. Then you get more comfortable. Tackle the bigger ones. You might set some reminders on your phone to practice. The key is consistency. Some people write out the thought in their brain and they answer it, then I guess it will happen. But will I get this disease? Then I guess it will happen. What if I go to jail? Then I guess it will happen. What if my parents don't like me anymore? Then I guess it will happen. Whatever it is. But it's not just saying it and being like, did that work? Is it gone now? No. It's like, we're going with the flow, man. Whatever happens, happens. Cool. But I'm playing a video game right now, so that's what I'm gonna go do. I'm hanging out with my friend. That's what I'm gonna go do. That's life. If you need some help with your OCD, go check out my online Master Your OCD course. I've got one for kids now as well. Adults, kids, go check it out in the description. You can even preview it for free. So just like my favorite phrase here, maybe, maybe not, the action definitely matters after. Then I guess it will happen, still using the knife. I guess it will happen, still staying in the relationship. I guess it will happen, I'm still gonna drive my car. I guess it will happen, I'm gonna go swimming with my kids. Whatever it is, whatever I wanna do, I need to go do that thing, because that is treatment. I'm making it meaningful, not just saying the phrase. There's a video here waiting to be clicked. It's probably like, watch me, watch me. It's gonna teach you some new phrases for your OCD. Click on it, because I've got a bunch of them, and I love them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Then I'll guess